DESIblitz.com.
So my name is Ali Jawad. I'm a Paralympic powerlifter. I've competed at 4 Paralympic Games and 3 Commonwealth Games. The highlights of my career have been obviously the 2016 Rio Paralympic medal that I won, and then for me I've had some incredible memories at the Commonwealth Games, winning a medal in 2014, breaking the world record there, and then winning another medal in 2018.
Why was the Rio Olympics such an achievement and such a memorable experience for you?
Well, because it took me so long to finally win a Paralympic medal, which has been my dream since I was 6 years old. And also it was my first Paralympic medal as well, so the first one's always the most special one, but I've actually got only one, so actually it is the most special one.
You were born without legs. How has that been for you, and how would you think fellow Asians have treated you, obviously with the stigma around being a Paralympian?
I think being born with no legs has actually never really affected me. For me, it's always been normal. I'm lucky that I've had 2 parents that have been very normal with me, probably as strict as everybody else. And they've actually always encouraged me to push the limits of what humans are capable of, let alone a disabled person. So for me, I've been very lucky that I've had a very good upbringing to make sure that I had the perfect opportunities to achieve everything that I've wanted to. And obviously I've demonstrated that, with a lot of ambition and sacrifice and discipline, you can achieve whatever you want. I guess I don't use my disability as any excuse. For me, it's just my body that I was born with, and I just have to go on with it. This probably sounds a little bit weird when it comes to stigma, but I've never actually experienced it. And I'll tell you why. It's probably because I never allowed it to happen, because I've demonstrated with my abilities what I was capable of, and that was proof to people that actually it didn't matter if I was Asian or disabled. I had the skills to be a full-time athlete and a world-class athlete. And I guess sometimes you have to use your skills rather than where you're from to demonstrate that to people. And I guess I've been quite lucky that people have actually treated me quite really, really well.
And others who are facing stigmas because of their whatever it is, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's the colour of the skin, what would you say to up and coming talent that's coming up in the industry?
Yeah, I think my number one advice for kind of young and coming athletes, especially that are Asian, is that think about your dream first. What do you really want to get out of it? And what hurdles are in the way? Are you willing to go through the hurdles to achieve that goal? And obviously my goal was to get to a Paralympic Games, and that's what I aim for. And nothing was going to stop me. Now there's going to be a lot of hurdles along the way, but it's whether or not how you how you react to it. If you react to it in a positive way, you're more likely to get through it. And I guess what I had was a team around me and a support system that really believed in my ability to pull it off. And I guess what I kind of advise is that make sure you have that support network to support you in them bad days, because you're going to have bad days. It's it's elite sport, but if you have a system around you that's strong enough, you will get through it. But it's whether or not you really, really want that goal.
So you got Crohn's in 2009. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how that's affected you?
Yeah, so I got Crohn's. I had the first symptoms of Crohn's on the night before I competed at the Beijing Paralympic Games. I got very sick, but I didn't know what it was. It took them 9 months to diagnose me. Now, at the time, I didn't know what Crohn's was, and then when I got diagnosed, it was life-changing. It was, completely kind of life-changing in a way that it was going to affect not only my career but my whole life. And at the time, this was 2009, no Crohn sufferer had ever won a medal at any Olympic or Paralympic Games. So what I was about to do was something that has never been done before, but also at the same time, was I willing to challenge medical science to try and pull it off, because there's no research out there. Luckily, I had an incredible team around me of experts that worked together to try find a way medically to get me on the platform and to get me fit enough to try and attempt and try to achieve my dream. Obviously, 8 years later, I finally did it, but it took 8 years of trial and error, loads of downs, a huge battle, but eventually we got there. But there required a lot of persistence and a lot of discipline on my part and their part.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And you mentioned your dreams a couple of times. What were your dreams growing up as a child? Was it always sport that you looked up to and wanted to be involved with?
Yeah, so when I was 6, I watched the 96 Olympic Games in Atlanta, and I saw an athlete called Michael Johnson win his historic 200 and 400 metre gold medals in athletics. and I saw him stand up on top of the podium, and it's just the emotion that he had, and I felt that I wanted to feel what he was feeling. Now, I knew I couldn't run like him, but it was just the emotion. I wanted to experience it. So I knew when I was 6 I wanted to become a Paralympian. So it's been my dream ever since. So powerlifting was actually an accident. My first love of sport was judo at a high level. I did judo for about 4 years in school. So it taught me discipline, it taught me balance, it taught me organisation, having homework to do and then training full time and competing. But unfortunately, being an amputee, there was no classification for me in judo. Judo's only open to the blind and visually impaired. So when I was 15, I had to quit, which actually completely broke me, thinking my Paralympic dream was over. Now, my parents, being obviously from the Middle East, were all about academia and exams. So when I was doing my GCSEs, during my after my maths exam, my friend forced me to go to the gym across the road from the school. And my first day that I was there, I lifted 100 kilo. The whole gym.
On your first attempt, you lifted 100 kgs.
My first attempt, 100 kgs. I was 16, and the whole gym stopped. And the owner of the gym used to be the national coach. So I was lucky enough that I had an owner that knew his stuff and someone that was going to direct me. And he said to come back because I've got potential, and that's how it started. At my peak, training was easy 20 hours a week, but that's only in the gym. You've got your whole lifestyle. So for me, it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week. It's all year round. Being an elite athlete at that sort of level requires a lot of discipline and a lot of patience as well, because it's very up and down. It's like a roller coaster. So people just see the hours spent in the gym, but they don't see what goes on behind the scenes. And it is the biggest roller coaster ride you're ever going to have. So with powerlifting, you're kind of classified into bodyweight classes. So you have to kind of maintain your body weight all year round. So your diet has to be spot on and optimal. Your sleep, your rest. You have to think about what you're doing on your rest days to make sure it doesn't affect your training sessions. Everything that you do in your life, you're always thinking about the next training session and recovering for it. So you never really switch off, even though you kind of sometimes want to. It's all about trying to achieve your potential all the way along. And that's what it takes.
So what was your diet like? What kind of things were you eating at your highest peak?
For me, I think it's normal. So loads of protein, carbs that are kind of prioritised within training and recovery, loads of vegetables, and making sure I was well hydrated. But at the same time, I also had to weigh my food because of my body weight constraints. So actually, weighing it was actually more of an obstacle because you have to weigh everything. You have to always track everything to make sure that when it comes to body composition, you're in the best shape you can possibly be at that body weight. So it got down to be very scientific in the end. Well, I've got a sweet tooth, so I like dessert. So when it comes to chocolate and burgers and steaks, I have to actually wait a long time for. But sometimes we'd actually make sure that was actually in my diet and actually factor that in. Because when you're so disciplined, you can do that. We became very flexible in terms of allowing me to eat what I want within reason to actually fuel my performance. But sometimes when you are kind of dieting for a competition, it does get quite tough.
And how hard is it then to achieve that body weight? Because I know there's a certain weight you have to achieve, right?
Yeah, so in bodyweight sports, I think a lot of people see athletes kind of crash diet, I guess, the week before the competition. But I guess what we did as a sport was we realised that to be able to lose weight and still maintain your strength, you have to do it very, very slowly. So you actually have to live the lifestyle. So I lived the lifestyle all year round. So I was only about maybe no more than 1 or 2% above body weight, just to make sure that while I was in the best shape possible to train and recover, but also if I needed to lose the weight and keep my strength, I can do it. So it was a very, very strict lifestyle outside the gym to make sure that I was ready.
At your peak, what were you lifting?
So my best in competitions 195 kilo, but I have lifted over 200 kilo in the gym, which is it's quite heavy.
Which wasn't captured?
Well, I've got loads of videos because I can prove it, but it's 195 in competition. I think what I did after Tokyo was have a kind of complete rest to make sure my body was completely rested. You have to remember 18 years of training at that sort of level, it does take its toll, especially when I've been so sick the last 5-6 years. So it's really important to kind of step away from training completely and to allow myself that rest. And then I guess when I'm ready and healthy enough to train, I'll probably come back and see what I can do. And also, just to I'm kind of now focusing on my health to make sure that, because obviously it's been well documented about my health struggles the last couple of years. So I just want to make sure that I give it my full attention and make sure that I'm healthy going forward, and then we'll see what happens.
So what are your ambitions now moving forward?
I'm studying a PhD at Birmingham University, so that's something that allows me to give back to the system.
Your PhD you just mentioned is in anti-doping. To people like myself who don't know much about anti-doping and what it's all about, could you tell us a little bit about that and why you're so passionate about anti-doping?
Yeah, so people know that athletes are kind of drug tested as part of, to make sure they're competing fairly. So my PhD focuses on kind of anti-doping, but in Paralympic sport, because there's no research that kind of support any sort of theory. So I'm focusing on parasport to make sure that we're kind of making sure the policies are aligning with the current kind of landscape. So I guess from my point of view, coming from powerlifting, historically we've had the worst doping record in the sport. Obviously we're trying to change that. In the last couple of years, the International Paralympic Committee have been very good when it comes to education programs, more testing. But I feel like when it comes to policies, we can educate them or inform them better by actual research, and that's where my PhD comes in. I think short term, I need to get my health in check first. I have to make sure that I'm healthy. I can't attempt what I did before Tokyo again. I think if I did get healthy, then who knows? I think I'm young enough to come back. I'm only 33, so I'm quite young for the sport. But I guess you can't really allow yourself to attempt that again if you're not healthy. So for me, health has to come first. And then, I think hopefully finish my PhD in the next 5 years too. That'd be quite good. And then we'll see what happens after that. But hopefully I can contribute to the system in other ways rather than just being an athlete. My whole life has been the Paralympic Games.